Oh, so here we go again. Time for yet more made-up bullshit nonsense.
Time for another DraftPhysics.com, DebatePhysics.com also. Video presentation. So I did do a lot of, there was a lot of arguments made and a lot of demonstrations and drawings and all of that stuff. And
demonstrations? No, you make bullshit arguments, you don't do demonstrations, you draw pretty pictures.
There is a lot of discretion applied by YouTube in deciding who's relevant and what's worth viewing. So anyway, this is just a video.
Yes, your genius has been suppressed.
Call out to anybody who cares about science and the truth, frankly, to respond in some sort of reasonable and rational way to the simple arguments that I have made.
Plenty of people have responded reasonably and rationally with arguments and with evidence, and you can't handle any of it, can you?
Over and over, and basically demonstrating that there really isn't any good evidence that 1/2 mv squared has anything at all to do with reality, that there's any such thing as the kinetic energy.
You've seen plenty of good evidence, haven't you?
Theorem that there's some other energy besides just momentum or weight or pressure, and that there really isn't anything else. That forces can...
Why are you conflating again? Weight, pressure, not the same thing.
Weight, pressure, or force, because it doesn't.
And again, weight, pressure, force, conflating them all. They all have a meaning. You can't conflate them.
And the simple argument is that you're going to have the capacity to launch the springs, release the springs individually. So you're going to get one velocity here. So if I release one spring, push the object here to smaller mass, I'll get one velocity. Now if I release two...
When you release one spring, you will get a velocity. Yes, some force will be applied over a time. You'll get an acceleration, and out of that, you'll get a velocity.
Two springs, then I will get 2 units of velocity. So whatever the velocity is, it'll be twice the velocity. Perfectly consistent with Newton's second law. I mean, what he's...
No, it's not perfectly consistent with Newton's second law. It won't go twice the velocity. It will have twice the acceleration, because that's what Newton stated. Force is equal to mass times acceleration. So if you've got twice the force and you're using the same mass, you'll get twice the initial acceleration, not velocity.
That right under the second law was twice the force, twice the motion. 3 times the force, 3 times the motion. So clearly he understood momentum works. And then 3 springs will give me...
He understood it. You fucking don't.
3 velocity. Okay. Now it's just an undisputable fact that I did 3 units of work. I didn't do 9 units of work. I just did 3. These are...
Correct. There's 3 units of energy there. You've got a spring compressed over one distance, 1 unit of force, and you've got that 3 times. So you've got 3 units of energy. Therefore, it won't go 3 times the velocity. And you deny... to deny F equals ma, which is Newton's second law, is just... you're denying physics. Newton said force is equal to the change in momentum over the change in time. Momentum is mass times velocity. So when we take out the mass to the other side of the equation, you've got F over m equals change in velocity over change in time, which is the acceleration. So you've got force divided by mass equals acceleration. 3 times the force, which is what you've got there in your example, is 3 times the initial acceleration.
I will get this proportional increase in the velocity. Now, because I have explained how springs work...
But you won't. You never test anything. You don't understand anything. You will not get 3 times the velocity. Momentum is force times time. So yes, you've got 3 times the force there, but it won't be applied over the same amount of time as releasing 1 unit of force with 1 spring, because obviously as you put more force in, it will accelerate quicker. Therefore, the time that the force has been applied for is less. So it can't be 3 times the momentum. It's impossible. It doesn't happen. I mean, Newton... he figured this stuff out, when basically by candlelight, when people were still pissing and shitting in pots. Hundreds of years ago this was observed and formalised, and now, in this day and age, you don't even understand it. when people back in those times were clever enough to figure this out. It's a universal thing. It's never been proven to be wrong. You can write it in a little triangle, F at the top, underneath that, A to the right of that. Force divided by mass equals acceleration. Force divided by acceleration equals mass. Mass times acceleration equals the force. So as long as you know two of the knowns, you can calculate the third unknown. And it works universally, never been proven to be wrong, and you deny it. It's pure Newtonian mechanics. You know, Newton, your idol, and you're basically calling him a fucking bullshitter now.
Because the faster the object moves, okay, the faster the spring is still moving when the object leaves. So it's just an absolute fact that if...
So, yeah, it is a fact that, yes, when you use the three springs, they're going to move faster. So, therefore, the force can't be applied over the same amount of time. Therefore, there can't be 3 times the momentum.
Let's say that first velocity was 10 miles per hour. That means the spring was going 9 miles an hour, 9.9, when the object left. And so it means the spring definitely has some energy in it because it's going pretty fast still. And so the spring wobbles more would be. So obviously more energy would be left in the spring. And the faster you're going...
Right, this whole wobbling thing, this stems from what I showed, right? Yes, the spring does oscillate after the mass has left. But what you don't seem to understand is that was filmed in nearly 8,000 frames per second. In real time, we're talking less than a blink of an eye for that energy that's, you know, that tiny amount of energy that's in the spring still to dissipate. And the results, you know, the experimental results show that it doesn't matter. You know, it's such a tiny amount left in the spring that it doesn't affect the results, really. You've seen that. And this, like I say, this all stems from you viewing something in extreme slow motion. In reality, that's pretty fucking slow, that click, compared to it.
It's just a fact that physics doesn't really care, doesn't really mention anywhere. I can't find it referenced anywhere.
It doesn't have to care because the fucking results show it to be not a major problem. You find it a major problem because you saw something and jumped to a fucking conclusion.
Where they actually talk about the fact that springs absorb energy at any speed. You can push them quickly, you can push them slowly, but they release, how they release energy.
And again, you've seen experiments where springs have collected energy, which you say they do really well. You've seen 1 pound dropped 4 feet and 4 pounds dropped 1 foot, and it's exactly the same collection of energy. You've seen it.
So let's understand, that's what they're saying here. It took 9 times the energy to go 3 times the velocity. Obviously, I didn't put in 9 times the energy. I only put in 3 times the energy. It's just an absolute fact. It'd be obvious it's not going to have 9 times the energy. It's not going to crush something 9 times as much. So they've never done any experiments. So the Mythbusters did crash.
Oh, God, and this crushing thing. 4 times the energy isn't 4 times the crushing. 8 times the energy isn't 8 times the crushing. As you crush something, it becomes harder to crush. The force increases over distance. So the Mythbusters perfectly showed kinetic energy.
There's no way to defend the theory if you recognize this will be an absolute truth. By Newton's laws.
But it's not an absolute truth. It's not Newton's laws. It's not what Newton said. It's not what happens in reality. It's not what physically happens in the real world.
And there's not going to be 9 times anything. It's not 9 times the work to produce the action, and it's not...
No, because you can't make free energy. You didn't put 9 times the energy in, so you're not going to get it out, are you?
9 times the capacity to do anything. And that's the truth. And I shouldn't have to make these videos over and over, and I shouldn't have to plead, and I shouldn't have to go through all this nonsense to get reasonable...
No, you shouldn't have to make these arguments over and over, because you should learn what you're talking about, and then you wouldn't make... Well, they're not arguments, that's it. They're just not arguments. They're just vacuous, ignorant statements that you make because you know nothing.
Until there's somebody willing to make a rational argument explaining how anything I'm saying in these videos, anything I'm describing is inaccurate. All I can do is keep making the argument saying, why won't they respond?
People have responded time and time again, like I say, even with physical proof. And that's still no good for you because you're a fucking moron.
Why do none of them have enough integrity to explain how I am saying things that are incorrect? Where have I misquoted the history or the truth?
People have shown you where you're incorrect time and time again, but you're unable to accept that you're wrong.
Actually believe it takes 25 times the fuel, okay, or force to move something 5 times the velocity. I don't think any of you really believe that's true. I don't think any of you actually believe.
That's a hell of a lot of projection here that none of us believe it. Well, no, what you're stating there is incorrect anyway, so we don't believe it because you're talking nonsense again.
MV is absolutely brilliant. It's a fantastic way to understand reality. And all you can do is take things with a big mass.
The thing is, you're saying MV is everything. Right? That's a mass with a velocity. And you think that's the fundamental thing. Well, it's not, is it? It physically is not. Because for a mass to have a velocity, you have to apply a force to it. And that force causes, a net force in a net direction causes that mass to accelerate in that direction for a period of time. When that acceleration is finished, you now have a mass moving a velocity. So what you believe is fundamental isn't, because F equals ma, the force has to accelerate the mass for it to have a velocity, to have momentum, to have kinetic energy.
That's what the universe does constantly. That's what it's preoccupied doing, is constantly making these conversions. So you can understand that gravity, it takes the little things and makes the big giant thing. And the explosive supernova goes from big giant thing to little tiny things moving. And that's all there is in the universe, is these exchanges between big things moving, being converted to little things moving, and then little things moving.
Fundamentally, all there is in the universe is mass and forces acting upon them. That is the fundamental thing that you deny.
And there is no 1/2 mv squared thing. That's a religious concept. It's a dogmatic holy ghost right in the middle of physics. There's no proof of it. There's no even evidence of it. There's no reasonable indication it's true.
There's plenty of evidence, and you've seen it, and you can just keep lying.
No experiments, none whatsoever. Physics has never dropped a 1 mass 4 units of distance and a 4 mass 1 unit of distance and proven that.
I don't know if science has done it, but I know I fucking did, and I know you fucking seen it. And you were squirming in your chair, nervous fucking coughing, and coming up with all the bullshit excuses under the sun. You've seen it, dipshit. You're wrong.
Unequal momentums weigh the same, create the same impact event. That you can have 2 different momentums and somehow you have an outcome that will be exactly the same. That doesn't happen. It's a violation of the concept.
It does happen. I've even shown you in just a 1-minute fucking debunk video the same momentums doing different amounts of work.
To think that the light object going faster that has half the momentum somehow has twice the same amount of energy. It ain't true, just as it ain't true that there's 9 times the heat in this ground and that there's 4 times the heat in this ground.
Just proclaiming something that you don't like isn't true, and some bullshit you made up as an absolute fact doesn't make either of those true statements.
I haven't said anything that isn't absolutely true. I mean, it won't rationally accept that these facts prove that this theory ain't true. Again.
But they aren't facts. They're just shit that you made up and drew a picture about.
And I really shouldn't have to make these videos to an audience interested in science and specifically physics. I shouldn't have to keep making these arguments month after month, year after year, and get rubbish and trash as a response. Somebody should be able to draw this and explain where I said something inaccurate. Because this is accurate and everything I said.
Why the fuck would we draw it when we can show you the experiment? We can show you what physically happens in the real world. Because that's physics. Physical things, physical phenomena. What really happens physically when you try these things. You like pretty pictures, okay. If that's the only way you can understand things, then you're fucked doing physics, aren't you?
I just never imagined that in doing this project, first the real argument was the double slit
project. That would infer that you're actually trying to do something rather than just talk shit.
Then I stumbled across this kinetic energy theorem thing and just amazed. I was amazed that physicists actually believe this crap.
Yeah, you stumbled across it and completely misunderstood it, and you still do.
And the more research you do, the more it proves itself to be nonsense. Again, the guy who invented it, the guy who first promoted it.
Research? What research have you done?
Let's say, produced no experimental evidence. I mean, I could go through it.
And again, you could keep saying this when there's mountains of experimental evidence that people have provided to you. And like I say, you can find, but you don't want to see because you don't want to burst your little fucking bubble.
I shouldn't have to keep doing this, pleading with their physics to give me some kind of counter-argument relevant to the subject.
People argue right on topic and you can't handle it, so it's all, oh, I ain't got time for this bullshit, and off you go.
Draw what I have drawn and explain where I said something inaccurate.
I've just explained where you've said a whole load of shit inaccurately, and again, why draw a picture when we can show you what really happens in reality, in the physical world?
You know, what's the story going to be? It's going to be this preposterous story that somebody did good work, did good analysis, and was completely abused and mistreated for his trouble.
You did good work. What have you done? You've done absolutely nothing. You sit on your fucking backside and talk shit.
Well, hey, let's do this serious. Let's do this testing thing. Let's figure out the truth and get it right. That's what they're supposed to be believing in.
Yeah, and they did. Centuries ago.
But they don't believe in experiments. They don't believe in redoing them. They don't believe in any of that. They just believe in their faith in their scientific leaders to tell them what they should think because it's all too complicated. This is apparently too complicated. So people can't understand somehow. Wait, no, it isn't that complicated.
Oh, so now your genius is that complicated that, regular, well-educated physicists can't understand your genius. Okay.
No, look, I've done my job. I can't do anything else but sit there and plead with you to please be reasonable. Please try to be reasonable. Make a little bit of effort to be reasonable. Hate me all you want.
Why should we be reasonable? You're not. If you can't fucking take it, don't dish it out. You fucking wet wipe.
But love the truth. Honor the truth. Fight for the truth. Don't sit there and...
We all have. It's you can't handle the truth.
The giants of physics, once presented with this argument, I don't think they'll go, oh, that can't be possible. Yeah, I don't think that would be their right reaction. But that's getting them to honestly look.
No, I think they'd probably just fucking laugh.
Well, the fact is, the entire kinetic energy theory is completely disposable because it's absolute nonsense, and the golden rule is momentum. That's what the universe is converting all the time. Big M's and little V's into big V's and little M's and vice versa. That's all that happens in this freaking universe. And you should be ashamed of yourself for defending something else, frankly. It's so obvious that momentum controls the universe.
To you, apparently. When again, it's not fundamental. Velocity needs an acceleration. It doesn't come from nowhere.
So anyway, till the next time and such.
Bye.